And for commodities market update, now join me is Bolale Agbaje, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company, joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you, Bolale, and I'm sure you were listening to our previous discussion there. You know, I don't play with food. I don't know about you, but I was scared. You know, when the World Bank is, warned about,
One thing to point out is that they've always said this in all their reports. Every report they release on Nigeria or anything that has to do with Nigeria, they never fail to mention the fact that the food crisis issue is lingering, because at this point we import a lot of our agricultural products and we're hindered by our exchange rates, hindered by so many activities within, the agricultural sector that is crumbling, our food supply. And it doesn't stop population from growing the way we're seeing it in the country. So it definitely calls to question what happens to our food supply in the short to medium term, and obviously the long term, the next generation as well.
Maybe it's time to have little gardens in your backyard. Maybe you can grow some of
It would make a lot of sense, because I know a lot of countries, in the West, that's what, they do. You have some people that feed themselves from their farms at the back, and that I don't think we see that a lot happening in Nigeria.
Yeah, I need to work on that. All right, let's look at wheat now. We see good news today.
Yes.
The grain deal extended by Russia.
Yes.
I'm sure we expected it to be renewed,
yes,
even though there were fears.
Yes, because it doesn't favor any one of those countries if that is not renewed. I'm sure a lot of their external reserves comes from the sale of wheat, and also for the global economy as well. We saw how when the war started, how wheat prices really skyrocketed, and now wheat prices have dropped by about 37%, which is great for us as we are, major consumers of that particular commodity. So all in all, it's good news that the deal has been renewed and there's some stability in, when it comes to wheat.
But I remember, Russia, they were asking, for some. They wanted some things to renew this deal. And do you think the EU and the US did shift some ground to actually make this happen?
There are probably things that have happened, behind the scenes. But I know, obviously, as time goes on, but it's just extended for about 2 months now. As time goes on, when they're trying to renew, I'm sure Russia would obviously, take into account what favors them in terms of, continuing this deal.
Right. Anyway, I guess there's still more to look out for, with that deal.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a tough first quarter right here in Nigeria. And we're expecting GDP numbers for the first quarter next week. I'm sure analysts have their forecasts.
Yeah, so
how bad is it, or good, or better than expected?
It's funny that you say bad, because we all know what happened in the first quarter.
Right.
The economy was stifled. We do expect that GDP numbers would drop significantly to about 1.25%, and it's clear that, with the cash crunch, productivity was hindered. There was just so much going on, so much disturbance in the, within the country, and that obviously would feed into the numbers. But all in all, we've seen recovery in Q2, and so we do expect that there'll be some sort of pickup. Although, like GDP is a lagging indicator, we've lived through the storm, and so now it's just time to move forward and see what the new administration does going forward. But all in all, our prediction is that GDP numbers will drop to about 1.25% in the first quarter of 2023.
So that's 1.25. That's the forecast.
Yes.
Do you think the MPC, they're also meeting next week?
Yes.
Do you think they're going to take any of this into consideration?
Of course, they'll take that into consideration, and they understand that it's a lagging indicator as well. So whatever they're doing with interest rates now is more or less to affect inflation numbers from the previous result that we had seen and going forward. So they will definitely take it into account, but I don't think it would affect their decision so much in terms of not increasing interest rates or keeping interest rates the way it is at the moment.
Because I remember in the US, the whole point about getting the Fed to actually pause on rate hikes was because they believed the Fed was about to break something in the economy or had broken something. But what if the rate hikes here, has it broken anything in Nigeria?
The GDP numbers that we're expecting is still positive. So it's not a situation where we're, trying to go into a recession or anything. I think for the central bank, their major priority would be the inflation numbers. They're going out of hand. Some analysts expect that, these numbers will peak at some point. But at this point, 22% is very high. And it's the main priority for them. So I don't think it will take precedence over the GDP figures for sure.
All right, let's look at the oil market now. We see Brent, that's down about 0.55%.
Yes.
It looks like it's going to be a losing week for Brent.
Well, the week is almost over.
It's almost over.
Yes, but this drop in oil prices was obviously as a result of the unexpected, increase in the strategic reserve by about 5 million barrels per day. And I mentioned, on Tuesday, the fact that the U.S. is trying to build up its reserve at the moment. So that increase in supply was obviously fed into oil prices. But all in all, the IEA, from their monthly reports, they did, release some positive news. They do expect that, the demand from China would increase significantly. And also the fact that most of this demand will actually be driven by China by about 60%, which is great for us. And the fact that, as much as, we've seen supply, demand, fundamentals within the economy, but we do expect that, the next meeting for OPEC+, they will definitely take that into consideration. And they did also mention that, towards the second half of the year is going to be positive news for oil prices. So we're sticking to that, and we're trying to be optimistic about oil prices going forward. Yeah,
quite interesting. Let's look at the Naira now. We see it appreciated about 0.27% in the parallel market, 752.
Yes, so it's not necessarily nice for us, but there was a report that was released, I think Bloomberg quoted that, and they did mention that with this new administration, they're expecting a devaluation by about 15%.
Official?
Yeah, official rate.
Okay.
And obviously that brings it to about 530 Naira to the dollar, which is good news for us. It's not necessarily great for the economy, but all in all, going forward, it means that in both potential and new, investors would more or less be more confident in bringing their money into the country.
And hopefully not more than one window.
And hopefully no more than one window. Because when you have that devaluation, although the devaluation is specific, is actually supposed to be way more than that, but we do hope that with that little devaluation, we can be closer to, merging these multiple exchange rates that we're seeing in the market.
All right.
And the good news, continues from there.
All eyes on the incoming administration.
Yes.
I guess every move they make,
2 weeks,
watch them like a hawk.
We need to watch them closely.
Thank you so much, Bolonle,
Thank you for
the senior analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.